The most dangerous person in your life might not be a stranger in a dark alley, but the neighbor living right next door, or worse, someone already inside your home. On Mr. Knight, I'm sharing 3 true stories that will permanently change how you look at your windows, your walls, and the quiet houses around you. If you enjoy real, disturbing stories told in a calm and professional way, subscribe now to Mr. Knight. Because the deeper we go, the darker it gets. 3 years ago, a couple bought their first home. It wasn't huge or luxurious, but it was peaceful. The neighborhood felt safe. The neighbors were friendly. Life was simple and stable. About 18 months later, the larger house next door went up for sale. It had more space, a garage, a proper driveway, everything that felt like an upgrade. They bought it without hesitation, and their old house was sold to a quiet Polish couple. At first, everything seemed normal. Friendly greetings, light conversations, nothing unusual. But slowly, strange disturbances began. Random nights filled with heavy banging. Music blasting through the walls at midnight. It wasn't constant, just frequent enough to feel unsettling. Then one day, the neighbor came home with severe damage on both sides of his car. His explanation didn't make sense. A concrete pole on one side, a trailer on the other. They chose to believe him, even though something felt off. Not long after that, he called them in complete panic. He claimed 2 men were outside, turning his security cameras away. When they looked, they saw it with their own eyes. 2 men breaking into his house. They called the police immediately. By the time officers arrived, the suspects were gone. Nothing had been stolen. But later, when reviewing the doorbell footage, they noticed something chilling. Before the break-in, the 2 men had calmly discussed which house to target. In Polish, it didn't feel random. It felt staged. A week later, everything escalated. The neighbor's car suddenly tore through a front garden and slammed into his own house. 2 men were frantically loading expensive electronics into the vehicle. This time, police arrived quickly. When asked for identification, one of the men calmly claimed to be the neighbor, using his exact name. But there was a problem. In 9 months, the real neighbor had never spoken Dutch. This man spoke it fluently. A chase followed through the quiet streets, and the suspects were arrested. But then the real neighbor appeared. His face was swollen and bloody, one eye completely shut, his arms covered in defensive wounds. He refused to cooperate with police. He refused to explain anything. Later that night, he knocked on their door, trembling. He confessed he had cheated on his wife and claimed she had sent people after him. He begged to sleep at their house. They refused. After dropping him at the hospital, they returned home and locked every door. Around 1 in the morning, their dog began growling. The doorbell camera showed him standing on their porch again. When headlights approached, he hid behind their cars in the driveway, crouched in the shadows like a hunted animal. Moments later, his wife arrived. Under the pale glow of a street lamp, she began crying uncontrollably. Within minutes, they both drove away. Days later, she returned alone. She said she didn't think she would ever see her husband again. And whatever the truth, they decided they didn't want to know. In another quiet neighborhood, a teenage girl began hearing faint footsteps outside her bedroom window late at night. At first, she dismissed it as imagination. She often stayed up watching videos. Maybe her mind was playing tricks on her, but it kept happening. Shuffling sounds, breathing, movement glimpsed through gaps in broken blinds, reflected in her mirrored closet doors. Every time her father checked the backyard, nothing was there. When winter came and snow covered the ground, the noises stopped. No footprints, no disturbances. But when spring returned, the sounds came back. For years, one night during a violent windstorm, her father stepped outside to check the yard before bed. That's when he saw him, a man standing completely still outside her bedroom window, staring inside. When confronted, the man ran instantly, jumping the fence effortlessly and disappearing into neighboring yards. Everything she had feared was real. Police increased patrols and cameras were installed. But the question still lingers. How long had he been watching? And what would have happened if he hadn't been caught that night? The third story begins with a family who moved into an older home that needed renovation. One evening, they returned from dinner to find their front door wide open. Nothing valuable was taken. Only small items had been moved. Weeks later, their teenage daughter began hearing strange noises in the basement where her room was located. She brushed it off as pipes, until one night, she heard clear laughter from inside the wall beside her bed. She convinced herself she imagined. Then one night, While babysitting her newborn sister, she heard heavy footsteps through the baby monitor, a crashing sound followed by her sister crying. She grabbed her father's unloaded rifle and rushed downstairs, prepared to defend herself. No one was visible. Police were called. Officers searched the house and found nothing. As they prepared to leave, her father hesitated and asked one final question. "Did you check behind the bookshelf?" The bookshelf had been slightly pushed open. Behind it was a hidden utility space. Inside were food wrappers, a missing cup, lotion, a switchblade, and a partially eaten apple that was still fresh. Someone had been living inside their home. Later, she discovered a tiny hole in the wall. When she looked through it, she realized it pointed directly at her bed. Someone had been watching her sleep, watching her change, watching her live her life. Police believe the intruder escaped through the basement window while officers were outside speaking to the family. He was never found. None of these stories involve ghosts. No supernatural forces. No urban legends. Just people. The scariest part isn't that it happened. It's how long it went unnoticed. Trust your instincts. Lock your doors. Close your blinds. Install cameras. Because sometimes the danger isn't across town, it's across the street or behind your wall. If this story made you feel uneasy, that means you were paying attention. Subscribe to Mr. Night for more real stories that prove reality is far darker than fiction. I'll see you in the dark.